أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين شفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. We stated a distinction yesterday that there is a God that is intuitively available, and we know that God at the depths of our souls. God gives a parable or a simile within the Qur'an, and when you're stranded in the oceans and the mighty waves are about to engulf you, there you implore to God. Now, that is an example of the people who don't believe in God. Even they, the veils from within part. And at that time, they find the intuitive God. God, save us. They know there is hope. Then in Surah Ibrahim went and broke all their idols. It was not by the command of God. He was a young man and who was very frustrated at what they were doing. Because otherwise the Muslims will say we have to go and break every idol in every mandir or something like that. The values were very different in the time of Hazrat Ibrahim. So he broke their idols and they were furious. Man fa'ala hadha bi alihatina. Who has done this to our gods? We have heard a young man. His name is Ibrahim. He speaks ill of them. Bring him. Fa'atu bihi. Bring him to our eyes or in front of us. They said, Ibrahim, have you done this? He said, no, actually the big one has done it. Look, ask him. Now, the Qur'an says, فَرَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ. They reverted to the depths of their souls and they exclaimed, indeed, you are oppressive to themselves. How can you worship somebody that doesn't see, doesn't speak, doesn't hear, can't ward off any evil from itself? At that point, the veils parted and they were in tune with their intuitive God. Bilqis, she thought it was a pool of water. It was made out of glass and crystals, giving the illusion of flowing water. She raises the helm of her garment, thinking it's water. Sulaiman Salamullah alayhi says, no, these are crystals causing an illusory effect of a stream. He said, my Lord, she exclaimed in there, my Lord, I have been oppressive to the true Lord. وَأَسْلَمْتُ مَعَ Sulaiman. And now I surrender with Sulaiman to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. So even Allah, the Lord of the worlds, was at a distance from her. The immediate God available to her was the one that was deep within, Rabbi, my Lord. So there's a huge distinction between Rabb as my Lord, our personal belonging to Allah, that we know intuitively. And you know why we know Allah intuitively? And we don't need anybody to tell us. Allah yahul bainal mar'i wa qalbihi. Allah comes between a person and his own heart. Can you imagine the intimate state of this relationship, that I come between you and your own identity? I am before you are to your own identity. That is how proximate Allah is. That verse, وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبِ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ, is another verse. It's talking about another reality, but that is nowhere close to Allah, who comes between a person and the person's own identity and intention. So it is important to make this distinction, because I know questions will come that why did you analyze these verses? And for those of you who will stay awake in these talks, will be faced with a huge challenge. and maybe you'll curse the day you came here. But there's a reason why I'm doing this. You see, the question arises. Look at our assumptions and misconceptions. Allah created us, placed us on this earth, gave us a life, gave us sun, moon, air, water. He expects us to thank Him, and if we don't, He's going to burn us forever and ever and ever in hell. But that's not the end of the story. Read the Qur'an. God has given us a soul that incessantly commands us to do evil. So that's the first thing. 2, the Qur'an says human beings are created in weakness. The Qur'an says human beings are ignorant. The Qur'an says human beings are anxious and fearful. Now, the modern reader will read these verses and turn to God and say, look, I will worship you because if I don't, I'll get punished. But it's not a willful devotion. It's a devotion out of compulsion, coercion. Because you have created me, I will not ask you what on earth possessed you to create me in the first place. I would have been better off not being created by you. Look at Gaza. Do you think these people, if they understood God in the simplistic way that we have understood God, that they would not point a finger at God and say, oh God, what sort of a God are you? You have created us just because you wanted to create us and put us in this hellhole, and these people are killing us, they are starving us, dehydrating us, and then they put the aid here, they call us to take the food, and then they shoot at us. Newborn babies dying. What sort of a God creates this monstrous world and then calls it a favor? And if you don't thank Him for this monstrous world, He will burn you forever. Are you getting the point here? Is it occurring to anybody's minds? Had we not taken birth in this faith, and had we understood the faith from what the representatives of the faith are saying without critique, we would have never have taken on this faith. Do you know that? They would have never have taken on this faith. Nobody would adopt any faith on the face of this earth because they are all misunderstood. The very focal point of faith is God, and our relationship, it's not there, it's gone. Can you not see that? We have no confidence in God. We will worship Him for 70 years. I hope Allah accepts. Are you kidding me? A little child scribbles on a paper, and the mother takes it and puts it upon her chest, those scribbles, and she frames it and keeps it until the child grows up and says, look, this is what you did in kindergartens for me. And there is no gold or diamond worthier than this. Do you think the creator of this mother is anything less than the mother? Surely, he says, my ray of love is far greater than the love of mothers put together. Can you see where the problem is? So these are our assumptions. God has not sent us down here in the way that we understand. It's a very different story. God is not speaking in the Qur'an directly the way we are understanding. God is being conveyed. There is a purpose and a reason for these things, and they need to be understood carefully. You see, what a failure it is of ours that there is a communication that is going to tell us who you are, where you are coming from, why you are here, where you are going, and what to expect after that. What a huge failure that we don't take this opportunity to consult what He is saying or what the book is saying, right? And then look at our lack of confidence. We dare not ask God a single question. We can't ask God a question, because you ask Him a question, you're in hell. I mean, who wants to go to hell? Forget it. I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to do what He says. But what about that Spirit of God inside that is prodding away? Ask the question. Ask it. Your God is not insecure. If He is indeed the God that you think He is, then He is beyond insecurity. Have you ever felt fear from asking your parents questions? Genuinely, sincerely, when you wanted to ask your parents a question, have you ever felt fearful? Children ask questions of their parents. The parents are happy. I remember my daughter was, I think, about 3 or 4, and I said, Allah is watching us. So she said, does he have eyes? I said, no. So she said, how does he see us? Obviously, I learned that you can't say these things to children. You know, it's difficult. So you don't introduce God to them that early on in age. You introduce God very indirectly. And then slowly as their minds mature, you teach them about God differently, right? But that's the innocent question that we have. But we don't have the confidence, do we? You know, imagine. And I know I've said this before, we put the Qur'an on our heads when it should be inside the head. But there's nothing wrong with putting the Qur'an on the head. I really like it in the amal and everything. Yes, don't get me wrong. And I don't think we should take these traditions away either. It's good, these traditions, even though they have nothing to do with the Prophet and his family. I mean, can you imagine Qur'an written on those stone slabs, you put it on your head? You know, once I was in the Clifton Mosque, and a very dear friend of ours, I'm not going to mention him from the pulpit. So we were reading Dua Tawassul, and the reciter was beautiful. So he was repeating the names of the Imams 3 times. So he said, Arif, and I was the Maulana at that time, but he still called me Arif, not Shaykh. He said, Arif. I said, what? He said, thank God we are not Ismailis. You didn't get it, did you? He said, can you imagine how long the dua would become? So, God is intuitively available. He is there. Hussein says to God, and God is seen as needless. Hussein says to God, oh Allah, what sort of a God are you? You give without me asking and without my eligibility. Then you ask me to loan you a little sum of what I have given you. With a heavy heart, I part with a little bit. With a smile, you accept it. You multiply it 70 times over and give it back to me. What a God Imam Hussein is worshipping. What a phenomenal understanding he has of God. That beautiful, untarnished understanding of God. But that is God. Allah, the real God. There is a facet of God that governs us in this world. You see, the parent's undying love for the child cannot be questioned. The parent will forgive the children, even without the children being eligible for forgiveness, even if they don't ask for forgiveness. The parent will forgive the children because it gives the parent greater pleasure to forgive than for the children to receive forgiveness. Do you know that? It's amazing. Do you think the parent of all parents is any different? But at the same time, the parent knows that the teacher that my child has to be respected, because the instructor knows how to best direct the educational course of my child, and therefore I will not interfere. Let the child evolve, grow, mature intellectually. So the instructor, back in the day, they were harsh. Remember when we were growing up? Nowadays they're petrified of us. Poor teachers. So the instructor will be harsh. The parent is kind. Yet the parent will say, let the instructor do what the instructor is doing, for the instructor knows better. You will understand this afterwards. The story is far different than what you're understanding right now. Why should I do homework? Why should I do these wasteful subjects? We've all been through that. But the parent says, look, you will understand it all afterwards. By the way, I still don't understand why I studied some of the subjects I studied. So we are asking a fundamental question here. Who is speaking in the Qur'an? Who is speaking on behalf of God? Because clearly anybody reading the Qur'an will understand immediately that God is not talking. God as God is not talking. God is the light of the heavens and the earth. God is the first and the last. God is with you wherever you may be. God is that God. So who is talking in the Qur'an? So we revisit those verses. I'm going to take it easy. Hopefully we'll finish it today. Go to the verse, revisit this verse again. We were going to come to it twice today. 42:51. God does not speak to a human except through inspiration, or from behind a veil, or he sends a messenger who inspires by the consent of God whatever he wills. Now this is a point of contention. By the consent of God, whatever God wills, or by the consent of God, whatever the messenger wills. And we want to work into this to see who the messenger is and what is being spoken and what type of revelation is the Qur'an. Now we cited the verses yesterday. O Muhammad, don't move your tongue to hasten to deliver it. Inna alayna jam'ahu wa qur'anahu. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانًا. We will gather it, we will recite it. When we recite it, follow it. Then it is our task to explain it. Now, if the inspiration is the delivery of the essential communications and its explanation, then the revelation has both inside it. The essential verses and their explanations, how they fit into that context. Can you see that? So the essential is God is one. This is your task. How to get there is an explanation of it. So I'm just planting these seeds in our minds. So now the obvious response comes from the faithful community is that it is Hazrat Jibreel who is doing the inspiring verbatim on behalf of God. But from the verses we analyzed, we saw two things about Hazrat Jibreel. Man kana aduun li Jibreel. Whoever is an enemy of Jibreel, indeed he revealed it upon your heart. He did not do wahi, he did nuzul of it upon your heart. Ruhul Amin. Nazala bihi Ruhul Amin ala qalbik. Ruhul Amin, which is another possibly description of Hazrat Jibreel. Ruhul Amin brought it to your heart. He caused the descent. In another place, Nazzalahu Ruhul Qudus. Ruhul Qudus has gradually brought it down. It doesn't talk about Hazrat Jibreel inspiring. Can you see that? Hazrat Jibreel is bringing it down, and we have lots of texts that Hazrat Jibreel would come, sit with the Prophet and arrange the surahs. But who is inspiring? Who is inspiring? So when the speaker in the Quran is relating Allah and Allah's inspiration, as in Surah An-Najm 53:10, فَأَوْحَى إِلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. He drew near to him, and they were at a distance of two bows joined together. فَأَوْحَى إِلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ مَا أَوْحَى. And he inspired or revealed upon his creature what he inspired or revealed. It doesn't tell us what. It doesn't tell us, doesn't disclose to us what was inspired. Or the speaker in the Quran narrates God's speech as the third person. And I'm going to revisit this verse again with a bit of a twist to it. Qasas 28:30. And when he came to the valley from the right hand side in the blessed spot, from the tree it was called out to him, O Moses, Inni an Allah Rabbul Alameen. Indeed, I am Allah, the Lord of the world. So this is directly from God. But God doesn't talk. He induces speech. How? We will find that out in a little while. Towards the end, yes? So retain that in your minds. So here, God is being narrated by the speaker. Speaker is not saying, I am God. He said, Allah, he said, whoever was talking in the bush said, Inni an Allah Rabbul Alameen. I am Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Now here you might find this a strange thing, that the Quran is from God. It is related to God, but it is not God speaking. How is that possible? We cited examples yesterday that God attributes the functions of angels to himself. So at one instance, Allah says, I am doing this. At another instance, Allah is saying, or the Quran is saying, the angel is doing this. Allah yatawaffal anfus hina inda mawtiha wallati lam tamut fi manamiha. Allah seizes the souls at their death, and the one that doesn't die at its sleep. In another place, Qul yatawaffakum malak al-maut alladhi wukkila bikum. Say, Malakul Maut will seize you, who has been tasked to take you away from this world. So at one point Allah says, I seize them. At another point, the Quran says, Malakul Maut seizes them. Can you see that? We explained yesterday that if you have a hierarchy, of course, this is a very crude example. It is true to say that senior management has passed this rule. It is true to say the immediate management above me has passed this rule. Yes? It's true to say that. So now I'm going to take us through a series of verses to see the nuances within the speaker, and this will continue for the next 2 days, yes? So brace yourselves. And honestly, bring your Quran and look at these verses. Surah Mu'minun, Surah 23, verses 50 to 52. وَجَعَلْنَا ابْنَ مَرْيَمْ وَأُمَّهُ آيَةً. And we made the son of Mary and his mother our signs. And we gave them shelter upon a hill that was stable and had running water. Ya ayyuhar rusul. So here, وَجَعَلْنَا, and we. Can you see the pronoun? We. The Quran is, the speaker is saying we. Yes? Ya ayyuhar rusul, kulu min at-tayyibat wa'amalu salihah. O messengers, eat of the wholesome things and perform righteous deeds. It's a continuation. Now look. Inni bima ta'amaluna alima. Indeed, I am aware of whatever you're doing. We made the son of Mary and his mother our signs. O messengers, eat of the wholesome fruits, wholesome foods, and perform righteous deeds. I am aware of whatever you're doing. Can you see the change? Then the third verse. Inna hadihi ummatukum umma wahida wa ana rabbukum fattaqun. This your nation is one nation and I am your Lord. Be fearful of me. So we are seeing the speaker talking of itself as the we, as the I, as the Lord. Now your Lord in the Quran is used to mean your real Lord as the source. But the speaker is also calling itself the Lord. And there's a secret hidden in there. When you read the Quran, you will see that the speaker is a singular speaker, speaking on behalf of itself, speaking on behalf of a collective, and speaking as the Lord. When it narrates from God, it says, He said as Allah, or Allah said. Makes a clear distinction, as we will see. In Surah Anbiya, Surah 21, verse 25. The speaker is narrating verbatim from Allah. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ مِنْ رَسُولٍ. We have not sent prior to you, we have not sent prior to you a messenger. إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ. Except that we inspired them. أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونَ. That there is no God but I, thus worship me. It is speaking verbatim as Allah. So at certain points, it quotes Allah. At certain point, it assumes and becomes the mouthpiece of Allah. Now look at this strange phenomena that you're going to find in Surah Anbiya, Surah 21, verses 83 to 90. In Surah Anbiya, the prophets are being quoted, and all of these prophets are calling on to Allah, but the response is coming from the speaker. Think of this. وَأَيُّوبْ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ. And Ayyub, when he called out to his Lord, رَبِّ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. O Lord, I have been struck with difficulties, and you are the most merciful. Look at the response that comes. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَفَكَشَفْنَا مَا بِهِ مِنْ ضُرٍّ. We responded to him. It doesn't say I or his Lord responded to him. We responded to him. So Ayyub called out to God, but we responded to him and we removed his tribulations. Then verse 87. وَظَنُّونِ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا. And Dhannun, Hazrat Yunus, salamullah alayhi, when he went out in a rage and he felt that no one was able to overpower him, then within the darknesses, he called out, An la ilaha illa anta subhanak. There is no God but you, glory be to you. Inni kuntu min adh-dhalimin. I am the one who has been oppressive to my soul. This was his plea to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the response. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. We responded to him. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. And we saved him from his grief. Then the next verse. وَزَكَرِيَّا إِذْ نَادَى رَبُّهُ. And Zakaria, when he called his Lord, not us, not me, when he called his Lord, رَبِّ لَا تَذَرْنِي فَرْدًا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْوَارِثِينَ. Lord, do not leave me without an offspring. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَى. We responded to him and we gave him Yahya. So in all of these verses we are seeing that the speaker is saying they called upon their Lord who is God in this instance. But we responded. So you are seeing that something is happening here. This we is a very, very integral part and a very important part of what's going on. Now at other instances, the speaker makes a sharp distinction between itself and between Allah. Now these are the most baffling two verses of the Quran that I have come across. And I know I said that last time as well about the other verse. These are some of the most baffling verses. Let me rephrase that. All right. Surah Dhariyat, chapter 51, 56 and 57. If this does not deprive people of sleep, then I don't know what will. I certainly could not sleep. مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created jinn and humans save that they serve me. And there's a reason why I'm saying serve and not worship, yes? Because that's what it means in this context. Except to serve me. We quote this verse, don't we, often? Yeah? That we are here to worship Allah and this is the normal thing, right? But look at this carefully. Look at the next verse. مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ. I don't want any sustenance from them. وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ يُطْعِمُونَ. And I don't want them to feed me. Which God speaks like this? Which God speaks like this? I have created man and jinn. I have not created man and jinn save to worship me. I don't want any sustenance from them. I don't want them to feed me. Which God speaks like this? Now look at the next verse. Indeed, Allah is the sustainer. Can you see this? Is that coming through? There's a sharp distinction. I have created jinn and man to obey me, to serve me. I don't want them to feed me. I don't want them to sustain me. Allah sustains everybody. Are you seeing this? It doesn't say I sustain everybody. It says Allah sustains everybody. Now somebody might ask you that, well, no, Allah is talking about Himself. That I have not created man and jinn save to serve me. Why does Allah need service in the first place? Does Allah need service? Does Allah need to say, I don't want them to feed me and to sustain me? And Allah sustains everything? Pay attention to these nuances. There is a story in here. A very, very deep story. Yes, it is on behalf of God. But there is such a colorful story here in this world that we really, really need to awaken to slowly and gradually. You see, today when I look at the atheist debate, and they're quite right. You know, whenever I see an atheist and a theist debating, I always say I favor the atheist. He makes a better argument than the theist. The theist can't match the atheist. So I remember I was giving tafsir session and somebody said, I'm an atheist. I said, good for you. He said, aren't you going to debate me? I said, why? He said, aren't you going to make me into a believer? I said, even God is an atheist. He says, La ilaha illallah. There is no God. Finish. Don't worry. I said, I believe that there is no God. The sort of God that you are denying, I also deny that God. You can't have a God who just makes us and lets us suffer. That assumption is false. Either He is not all kind, or all gentle, or all powerful. The same argument that you have, I have as well. But I've understood it slightly differently. So I believe in God and I believe in everything else as well. But the God that you're denying is a false God. It needs to be denied. But the Quranic God is a true God. The thing is, we need to understand how. So the speaker makes a sharp distinction between itself and between Allah. In Surah Al-An'am, Surah 6, verse 59, referencing God, وَعِنْدُهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلُمُهَا إِلَّا هُ, and He has the keys to the unseen. Nobody knows them save He. He knows what is in the land and in the sea. No leaf falls save that He knows it. And there is no seed buried within the darkness of the earth. Nothing wet and nothing dry save that it is in the open book. So the speaker is making a distinction between itself and between Allah. I know it's not going to come through yet, but we are going to build in much more. Let's carry on with this distinction, and then you will see that it starts making sense. Surah Qasas 28:81. Now this is the story of Qarun. Qarun possessed a lot of wealth, as you know. He had people carrying, strong people carrying just the keys to his treasures. Usbati ulil quwwa, as the Qur'an says. Now Qarun came out on a parade, parading his treasures and the keys that he had. The Qur'an says, فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ, Surah 28:81. And we caused the earth to swallow him and his house. فَمَا كَانَ لَهُ مِنْ فِئَةٍ يَنْصُرُونَهُ, and there was no group that could help Qarun at that point. What does the word say after that? Min dunillah, except for Allah. Can you see that? Why would Allah say, we caused him to be swallowed by the earth and none could come to his help except for Allah? If Allah is saying, I caused the earth to swallow him, then that's finality in there. There's no question of except somebody, right? The verse should have said, فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ وَمَا كَانَ لَهُ مِنْ فِئَةٍ يَنْصُرُونَهُ مِنْ دُونِي, except for me. Why min dunillah, except for Allah? وَمَا كَانَ مِنَ الْمُنْتَصِرِينَ. You are seeing that the speaker is saying, I am limited here. I am limited. Allah has the final decree and the final say. We did this, Allah could have overruled it. Look at another verse. إن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله. If you are in any doubt about this Quran, then bring a surah from his like, the like of Prophet Muhammad, because he did not read or write, and call all your witnesses apart from Allah. If the speaker is Allah himself, then there is no question of saying except Allah, because you can't call on to me, I am the one who's putting the challenge. Can you see that? If you are in any doubt about what I have taught him, then bring a surah like this and call all your friends apart from me. Does that make sense? If you are in any doubt about what we have revealed to him, bring a surah like it, call all your helpers aside from Allah. Because if you call Allah, then Allah can produce another one like this, another Quran like this, right? Are you seeing this? In Surah Baqarah. If that hasn't gone through, which it hasn't, and I know, then let's look at the next verse, Surah Maryam 19, Surah 19, verse 85. يَوْمَ نَحْشُرُ الْمُتَّقِينَ إِلَى الرَّحْمَنِ وَفْدًا. The day in which we will raise the God-fearing towards Allah, towards Rahman, in delegations. Are you seeing the distinction here? The day on which we raise the people with heightened consciousness towards Ar-Rahman. Are you seeing the distinction? We will raise them towards Rahman. The Qur'an says, Ud'u Allah wa ud'u Rahman, ayyan ma tad'un falahu al-asma'ul husna. Call him Allah, call him Rahman. These are the beautiful names. So we are saying we will raise them to Rahman. Why do you need to say that if it's the same person talking? The day in which we will raise the muttaqeen towards ourselves. Why towards Rahman? Right, your expression says it all. Now, to emphasize this further and to actually nail it, go to Surah Zukhruf, Surah 43, verses 50 to 55. Now I know what the comeback is. Now these verses are talking about the Pharaoh, the conversation that Pharaoh is having in the signs that God is sending, and Pharaoh's being obstinate and being deliberately hard-hearted and becoming more and more obstinately opposed to Moses and the Israelites, freedom of the Israelites. This verses, if you go to the last couple of verses, فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمُهُ فَأَطَاعُوا, he frightened his people and they were obedient to him. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمًا فَاسِقِينَ, indeed they were a deviant people. The verse after that, فَلَمَّا آسَفُونَا, and when they angered us, the Pharaoh and his people, انتقمنا منهم, we sought revenge from them, فَأَغْرَقْنَاهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ, and we drowned them all. Which God speaks like this? And when they angered us? So they asked Imam Sadiq. They said to Imam Sadiq, how can God speak like this? Imam Sadiq said, and Faiz Kashani quotes this hadith in his Muhajjatul Bayda, and Mullah Sadra quotes it in possibly his Asfar. And Mullah Sadra also takes note of this and other verses in his Shara of Usul al-Kafi, I believe. I'm not very sure which particular book. Imam Sadiq said, this is not Allah talking. Allah does not have this state of rage. He does not have these emotions. He is loftier than displaying such emotions. These are the grand, noble creatures of God that display His anger and His pleasure. Is that getting through now? Yeah? Is that getting through? They are displaying His anger and they are displaying His pleasure. Now come with me. Surah Safat. Those who stand in rows. Now I ask you, go home, read the whole of that surah from Bismillah till the end. Yes? Read it. The we aspect is quoting the whole of this surah. We. Were they witnesses when we created the angels as females? The we is asking. So people might say that these are angels. So the we is saying, we created the angels. Did we create them as females and they were witnessing? The Surah Safat said, then they say that the angels are females. Did they observe us creating angels females? Now towards the end of this surah, Surah 37, verse 164 and 166. This is very important, so please open it. So the we are talking throughout, the we pronoun is talking throughout in this surah. Towards the end, it says, وَمَا مِنَّا إِلَّا وَلَهُ مَقَامٌ مَعْلُومٌ. There is none amongst us, but that he has an appointed rank. وَإِنَّا لَنَحْنُ الصَّافُونَ. Indeed, we are the ones who stand in rows. وَإِنَّا لَنَحْنُ الْمُسَبِّحُونَ. And we are the ones who glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We glorify. So clearly the we here is not Allah talking. And the we in the previous verse, وَلَمَّا آسَفُونَ انْتَقَمْنَا مِنْهُمْ, is not Allah talking. So the comeback is, these are angels. These are angels. We just said that we are saying we created the angels, so there can't be angels. Yes, for the lack of a better term, we can say lofty angels, for example, right? So now I ask another question. Well, if this is angel talking here, then what is the criterion through which you discern where we belongs to Allah as the royal we and where we belongs to other than Allah as an agency? Where? If you say in the story of Moses, the we, lamma asafuna, is an angel talking because God does not get angry, then this story is the most frequently repeated event in the entirety of the Quran. So then you'll have to say wherever the we is mentioned in the event of Hazrat Musa, it is not God speaking. Now if you were to apply that rule, then you will find majority of the Quran, you will say, okay, it's not Allah talking, it's the angel talking. And is the angel talking as Allah is inspiring the angel to talk, or is the angel talking on behalf of its own self? Can you see that? So here we will say, think about it this way. وَلَمَّا آسَفُونَا إِنْتَقَمْنَا مِنْهُمْ. And when they angered us, we sought revenge from them. It doesn't make any difference whether the angel is speaking on its own behalf or God is inspiring it, because the state of the angel here, if we say it's an angel, is the state that is being expressed. So I would have said the same thing, and I'm being told to say the same thing. Can you see that? Are you getting that? See, look, if I get angry at somebody and I fire them, right? So I come to you and I say, he angered me and I fired him. It's my state. It's my real sentiment that I'm expressing because I fired him. Or my boss is putting words in my mouth. He made me angry and I fired him. When my boss puts this word in my mouth, the boss is making me say the very thing that I was going to say anyway. Are you seeing that? So it makes no difference how you look at it. But there again, I beg to differ, because the verses for yuhi bi'idnihi ma yasha, and we want to work at it. So now here, we go back to that verse. أو يرسل رسولا فيوحي بإذنه ما يشاء. Or he sends a messenger who inspires through the consent of Allah whatever Allah wants. If you look at this very, very carefully, it actually means that the messenger is inspiring whatever the messenger wants with the consent of Allah. But tomorrow you will also see, and day after tomorrow, that the messenger also directly inspires, that the messenger also speaks from behind a veil, and the messenger also speaks as a messenger. It's a phenomenal story that unfolds. So I'm just going to recap here, just to conclude. The speaker at times is quoting from Allah verbatim. At times, the speaker is narrating God. The speaker is conveying the core of the message. The speaker is giving elaboration on the message. The speaker is speaking in three tones: I, we, Lord, and seamlessly changing. Now, who is the Lord? Tomorrow and day after tomorrow we'll go into that and explain that much more thoroughly. Salawat. I just wanted to look at your expressions before we go to the story of Imam Hussein, and of course the traditionally narrated story, and it's so powerful. And you know, when we look at Hussein, we feel that yes, he worships the God that we know in there. A God that is beyond punishment and reward. A God who is the friend. A God who is closer to us than ourselves. He says in his dua, O Lord, even before I articulate with words what I understand in my heart, you already know my intentions. even before I can articulate them. O Lord, you do not need any cause from yourself to be bountiful to me. How then can I assume that when I do good, you will do good to me? You are the doer of good, incessant doer of good. That is how Hussein understands his Lord. And that is why we are told that the Prophet and his family are the surest means to God, because when we go to the Prophet and his family, we understand God so deeply. The du'as of the Imams, the way Imam Hussein gives himself to Allah, it is not the same God. It is the real God in there. Of course, it is the same God, but the relationship is very much more wholesome. Now, as we recite the Shahada of Hazrat Habib, we come to a friend of Habib, Muslim ibn Awsaja. Muslim ibn Awsaja, Habib meets him at the borders of Kufa. He has dye in his hands to dye his white beard. When Habib says, Hussein is in Karbala and surrounded by enemies, Muslim throws his dye. He said, by Allah, I will color my white beard with my red blood in the defense of my master Hussein. Habib comes to the side of Muslim as Muslim is about to breathe his last. Hussein is holding the head of Muslim ibn Awsaja. Habib turns to Muslim. He says, "O Muslim, even though I do not have long after you, is there any request you wish to make that I can fulfill in the brief moments that I have to live?" This is what we find. He raised his trembling finger and pointed it at Hussein, and he said, "Alayk bihada shakhs ma dumta hayya." Habib, guard this man as long as you are alive. And this is how Muslim breathes his last. That is what Hussein does. Zainab sees the oncoming soldiers. She says, "Oh Hussein, call on to your friends and helpers." He says, "Zainab, who do I have in this wilderness? Your childhood friend Habib." Hussein writes a letter and dispatches it secretly to Kufa. And I'll narrate the sentiment that the Zakirin narrate. It's the depth of night, and there is a knock at the door of Habib. Asks, "Who may it be?" "I am the messenger of Hussein." Habib rushes to the door, takes the letter of Hussein, kisses it and opens it, and says, "O Habib, O Faqih, O Qari of Qur'an, this letter is from Hussein ibn Ali. Habib, I am in Karbala, await not, come to my aid." Habib's wife asks, "Who was it?" "Messenger of Hussein." "What does the letter say?" "Hussein calls me to assist him." "And what do you say?" "I ask you what will happen to you if I were to die." "Sorrow be your lot, O Habib. Is this a question one asks at such a point? Go be with your Hussein." We are told that Imam Hussein was handing over the banners, the standards on the 3rd or the 7th, and he kept one to himself. Everyone was desirous to receive that standard. Hussein kept it to himself, and he said, "The bearer of the standard is about to come." From afar they saw the dust being raised by the galloping of a horse. And Hussein said, "Here comes the bearer of this standard." As the dust settles, Habib appears. He looks at Hussein and he said, "Even though I have become old, when I look at you, youthful blood begins to flow within my veins." There is commotion in the camp of Hussein. There are cries of joy. Zainab asks, why is there such commotion? Why is there such jubilation? It is Habib, Hussein's friend, who has come to his aid. Zainab says to Fidda, convey my salam. Fidda comes and says, Habib, the daughter of Fatima conveys salam. He says, oh, sorrow and woe on the destitution that Zainab has to send salam to me at this point. The battle commences. It is time for Dhuhr. The muaddin of Imam Hussein says it's time for Dhuhr. Imam says to Habib, seek respite from them. Let us all offer our prayers. Habib says, oh people, let the grandson of the Prophet offer his prayers. Pray as much as you want, for they won't be accepted. Habib said, oh drunkard, shall God accept your prayers and not the son of the messenger? Habib says, oh Hussein, even though prayers are dear to my heart, allow me to engage with your enemies, for I wish to pray this prayer behind your grandfather in paradise. Habib enters into the battlefield. This is the scene we find. He fights gallantly. A spear arrives into his chest while still mounted, and a sword upon his head. He trembles and descends upon the earth. As he calls out to his friend Hussein, Humayd ibn Muslim says, before this time on that day, I had not seen the expression of dire hopelessness and grief upon the face of Hussein. Hussein runs to Habib and he says, oh Habib, indeed you are a fine man, but you have left me at a point where I need you the most.